Welcome to Take a Stock on Friday. It's the 8th of September, 2023. It's the end of a week. Hasn't been a particularly productive week, but John's not here. He's trying on some new beach T-shirts. He's away for the day, and it takes a day to get a good beach T-shirt for John. But listen, I want you to help me here because I'm on my own, so I wouldn't mind some comments to have a bit of feedback with. But I'm talking about portfolio management today. Before we discuss, individual stocks, news out, and all that, the markets, because a good comment here. I was talking to Paul Hill, of course, yesterday, and we had a comment from Magic Trades, and he said, in my opinion, not taking big losses is the most important thing in the stock market. It prevents you from blowing up, protects you mentally, and risks you in the game. This is true no matter the strategy or if someone is an investor or a trader. So he says position sizing, according to the risk, is the best way to achieve this. Aiming to risk no more than 1 or 2% is a good guide. Also recognizing that if a stock goes down 50% from a buy position, you need 100% gain just to get to break even. For many stocks, they'll never come back from that. Knowing how to take a loss early is really important. And that's it, isn't it? Taking losses is really painful, but a small loss is less painful than a big loss. This is the biggest flaw with most long-term investors, and this is why you see instances of people taking huge losses, i.e. 64% in one day. So this is my question, okay? Your portfolio, just put a percentage in there. What is your biggest holding? What percentage does it take up of, say, your total portfolio value? Okay, so just put a percentage there. What's your biggest holding? And also, initial trades. When you make an investment for the first time on a new company, and it's a very emotional thing. This, and emotion affects you because when you research a company, you're excited about it. You can tend to go overboard on it. But what size position do you take? Do you scale in? Do you go all in first time? Or do you have a sort of guide? You say, take, like I said, Magic Trades, 1 to 3% or 1 to 2%. Let me know. Tell me what size you go for. Okay, let's just have a quick look at the sort of indices while we're here. There we go. FTSE 100 down 0.11%, not a lot. FTSE 250 up, which of course is UK sort of businesses. FTSE 100 is regarded as more international. 350 down. The AIM all share down. It's a boring day. There's not a lot moving around. AIM all share. It is literally, and I'm going to keep a check on this now every day pretty much. But we are 732 days in from the high, down 44%. And we're not far off the low. Look at the low here is down here at 729. We're at 734. We're 5 points off the low. All right, so it's not looking good. Let's go to the front page of Vox. Yeah, Harland Wolff, of course. And let's go to the chart on that because they come up with news today. Harl, if you want me to discuss any chart, let me know. But Harland was one of the most read, down sort of 9.84%. And they got the half-year report out. They're saying that revenues increase by 65% from the previous year. Okay, they are making a loss, of course, EBITDA loss of 15 million, slight increase on last year. But they do say looking forward, they're looking at company's backlog. They reckon next 7 years, of course, a big £1 billion contract there. They say the company reiterates its revenue guidance of 200 million by full year 2024. Let's have a look at the chart here on Harland Wolff. Yeah, it's come down. It's a big rally, and that was the contract there. They announced sort of £1 billion contract, and it's thrown in a wedge down here. But this is quite encouraging here. This breakup, you can see almost like a line of support. It dipped below this, but it probably needs to get above that 18 pence level, and it's backed on that 13 pence level. So very interesting there. Okay, let's go there. Right, Old Dog 71 says biggest percentage of Avacta will be a millionaire maker within 12 months. Retirement or bust. You have 50% in Avacta. That is high risk. Very is all in. Is there anyone out there with a bigger percentage holding in one stock than 50%? Let me know. Put it down there. Tell me why. Old Dog, tell me why. Why do you have such conviction in this? Because, of course, Avacta, even though there's a lot of potential there, it's still a risk, isn't it? Going forward, as in, clinical trials, because, and especially again, phase 3, very high risk. So let me know why you have such conviction. In fact, let's look at the chart on Avacta here. And I did say it recently, it's almost like that pound level, as you see that bar I put in there, is almost like a magnet. It dips back down, comes back to it, rises above, pulls back down. And what will be the catalyst that gets it moving again significantly above that level? Let me know. All right. Okay, it's Harland Wolff there. Let's look at the front page here for more stuff. Polarean, one of the most read. In fact, we scroll down here. You've got Greatland Gold, Polarean, and I was just chatting to this about Vadim. And I do think Polarean, have amazing groundbreaking tech. And they have been in sort of a perfect storm. They got FDA knockback when the bear market started to bite. This is when you can see the bear market, the FDA letter that they got knocked back down there, 58% in one day. And you can see several trading ranges. And that, like I said, that happened at the end of the bull market, where funding started to dry up and everyone started getting very risk averse. And it failed to stay in that sort of zone of that, sort of 32 pence to 67 pence, broke down in Feb 2023 into this zone and broke down again. Now we're at a level it's never been at. It's never been at. But yet, if you look at their news today, they are making progress. And this is their partnership with Vida to streamline adoption of advanced MRI of the lungs. So it's just saying, almost Polarean, have the technology there and the software, the hardware, and they've got some software. But to fine-tune that software, they partner with Vida Diagnostics, who's an AI company, and their software will pick up on the biomarkers needed. So they are getting there, but I still think the worry here is about the funding. They did say, of course, in their half-yearly report yesterday that they're funding to last till, Q2 2024. So they made a raise before that. But you know what? It's just when you have, this is why I look at charts so much. I mean, when I'm looking at companies, I do obviously fundamentally research them. And then, then I look at the chart, because if they are in a downtrend, you can't help that. Even good news gets sold into. And so, trend is your friend. I don't know when this downtrend is going to finish, but in my mind, it needs a significant break of that 50-year moving average to move upwards. But don't write them off. This technology is still very globally significant. It's just a pity that shareholders taking a hammering like this, down 90-odd% from the high. Not unusual name though, and this company's gone on to do bigger, better things, even going down that far. But so it's still relevant. It still changed a lot of people's lives. And like I said, there's lots of people have written about this, peer-reviewed papers. They're in big institutions. So the technology is very relevant there. Okay, comments. So this is just the subject today. What percentage is your biggest holding? Alan, normally 30 to 40%, but at the moment, 88%. What you're saying, you're 88% in a company? Is that what you're saying, Alan? But normally go for 30 to 40%. That's quite high. That is quite high. Generally, personally, for me, I look at 1 to 3% starting off. And then if it starts going the right direction, I will then maybe, average up. So that's in seeing machines. Regulatory tailwinds, strong growth projections already locked in for the next 3 years, with potential for large new orders coming in the next quarter. Okay. Well, yeah, let's be honest, they are in a trend that's seeing. Let's have a look at seeing machines' chart here. That's not bad there. I mean, let's just take these, let's simplify this chart, okay? Let's just take the 20-day and the 50-day off. And you can see here, generally on a broad brush level, if you look at that 200-day moving average, generally when you get a big uptick through it, it tends to rally. This is an exception here, but this is March 2020 when the COVID dash for cash happened. But it rallied from 3.5 pence up to 11 pence. And you can see the breakdown here. When you see this, it's always worth looking at, even if you're not good at charts, right? Just look at the 200-day moving average, because you can see the gap here between that share price and the 200-day moving average. It moves up, okay? Then, and it didn't touch the 200-day moving average from September 20, and then all of a sudden it touched it in July. You think, okay, what's happening here? Is the trend breaking down? Rallies strongly, breaks down again below it, but further down this time, and then up again, breaks down below it again. Now you can see this 200 moving average is sort of bottoming out, which is a good sign. It means the share price pretty much has been, bouncing off this level, which is what, around about sort of 5.5 pence. We're at 6 now. It'd be nice if it could break that 200 moving average and maybe break previous highs. And in fact, you see this here. You can see, almost previous support on this level. But it'd be nice if it broke up, then it would start to move forward. But that's a high conviction play, and 88% in C machines. Surely no one can beat that. No one can beat that. Old Dog says, as soon as AVA 6000 shows efficacy, there'll be a big deal. Partner up or acquisition. Steve, I have 20% of my portfolio in Georgia shares, Bank of Georgia, the TBC banks equally. So far, so good. And dividends good, but I keep a close eye on Georgian economy. You're saying 1-3%, but what about when you're all in on Lloyd's Bank back in the day? Sleepless nights. Yeah, I mean, for anyone that doesn't know, during the Great Financial Crash, I did go sort of all in on Lloyd's Bank, and I just thought, because they sort of nationalise RBS, so that they're not going to nationalise another bank. And I did have sleepless nights. It did pay off, but that was an exceptional situation where, markets were at low and all that stuff. So I suppose the markets are at low now, and I just thought there's been more upside than downside. But I have never been at that since, and I've been a bit more sensible since that. But yeah, I did do that on Lloyd's. Okay, let's go to the front screen of Vox shares here, Vox markets here. Okay, so we got Polarean. I talked to Neil Herbert, and to me, this is probably the most significant news they've released for a while. And this is essentially, the Ghanaian Sovereign Wealth Fund investing 32.9 million in Atlantic Lithium. And they've announced the DFS, big numbers in DFS, of course, a while back. Also, their partner have invested money in it. But there was worry for a while. Let's go to the chart. There was worry for a while, of course, because there was speculation about the Ghanaian government changing policy on lithium and all that stuff, and increasing their royalty, and also not allowing raw lithium to be exported. It would have to be refined in country. But now they've signed a deal. The Ghanaian government are going to, through the wealth fund, are going to invest 32 million in this project, which is significant. And if you can see here, this area it went down to, and now it's broke above, was quite significant. And like I say, if you just play the opportunity moving average game up there, and if you look at this now, it's now broken out a couple of times. It broke down here to this level, broke down again, popped back into this level, but it tried to break it a couple of times here, and now it's up above that. So, and in fact, if you put the 50-day, which I quite like to see the 50-day, a gap up above 50-day is very good. Now, I'm not saying it's straight up from here. I'm saying the downtrend, the bottom has probably ended on Atlantic Lithium, And I think milestones are they're hoping to get a mining license before the end of this year, and production starts there in Q2 2025. But I think when you've got a government in the country backing you, you can't get a bigger commitment than that. So I think that's good news to them, and good job. I mean, in fact, if you look back at the RNSs of Atlantic Lithium, fair play. The directors have director holdings. There's quite a few, but where else have they gone? There's quite a few director buys here along the way, and they put a lot of money into this. So it's always nice to see that, of course, because they're protecting themselves as well. It's always what do you look at that when you look at your stocks as well? How much notice do you pay to directors' skin in the game? Because it's very important, of course, because sometimes when I've been taken to the woodshed in a placing or something, it's happened because the CEO largely has no skin in the game, no skin or very little skin or options. And of course, it doesn't hurt them pretty much because they don't hold any skin in the game, So it's worth seeing that, I think. Do pay any attention to that. I did Hot Stocks Live with Paul yesterday. Let's scroll down. Arc Minerals. There's no news in those, but one of those followed companies, I think. Yeah, no news on those for a while, I don't think. But unless, let me know. But they are the most followed. Arc Minerals, that's on the chart there. It's in a bit of a range. Needs a break up, doesn't it, above that point there. Where else is the most followed? AMTE Power. Well, AMTE Power, I don't know, it's AMTE Power, down 75.9% a day. Why? Essentially, this company a while back was going to the wall. It was seriously in trouble. And unless they raise money, they said they'd probably delist. And so they have done that. But it's a very painful raise. They've raised 2.1 million and proposed retail offer of up to 250,000. And it's something like, well, I'll show you the chart. It's about 80% down on the, so I shouldn't laugh, but it's I mean, this is what happens in a bear market. It's very hard to raise money, and pre-revenue companies need money. That's the most important thing of all. Pre-revenue, loss-making companies need to get their cash from somewhere. And normally when the equity markets are free-flowing, they do it that way. But when they start shutting down, like we've seen in the bear market, then companies go to the wall. And so this is a lifeline here. But if you look at that, what did it list at? 250, pretty much, around about 250 a share. And this was, just towards the end of the bull market. As we see, so many IPOs happen then when cash is free flowing. People want to invest, and then all of a sudden the bear market bites. And it's come down from that, literally, to 40 pence. And this gap down where they announced they are literally needing funding, or it's a fatal situation, goes around here, sort of flatlined, then down again to this level here, down 74%. But you've got to think, have they got enough money? I mean, have any of you taken positions in this? Let me know if you have. But you've got to think, how long will that sustain for? But if you go, because it's always, I did look at this and thought, I've seen people taking a punt on this. And of course, they've got a bit of runway now. But if you scroll down, they go, okay, well, how long will that last? Let's go to half-year results. So they've raised what? 2.5. And you scroll down, turnover. So the loss before tax here was 3.75 million, cash to grow 1.2. So last time that money wouldn't have lasted them 6 months, but it's interesting. I assume now they've had to cut back on costs. So even though they've had a bit of a reprieve here, how long will that cash last them? There you go. Let's look. Avacta is exceptional. Let me ask you a question there then, okay? Old dog, have you fallen in love with the stock? And if that's the case, are you biased? It's always worth asking this question, because I've done that in the past, in the future. I've done that in the past, and it's cost me dearly. Are you seeing all the risks? Or sometimes you become, too heavily invested that you don't see the risk. You're blinded to the risk. And any bit of bad news almost serves as good news, because it's confirmation bias. Are you looking with an objective eye? Or now, if you've got so much invested in it, you're not. I'm not saying they won't go on to do amazing things, but be careful. You're not, becoming a bit emotionally biased there. Biggest is S&P, but individually, this is Michael. Hold Tharisa, well positioned with new mine opening next summer. When China is stimulated, or chrome prices increase, we're off to the races. Patience is needed. Yeah. Do you know what? A lot of the time, I think where we are at the moment, like I say, if you look at AIM, all share, we're at an all-time low. It may go a little lower. And, people are bearish, most bearish at the bottom when they should be the opposite, and people are most bullish at the top when they should be the opposite. At the top, everyone thinks it's going higher. At the bottom, everyone thinks it's going lower, and we should need to flip our mentality. And that's what's a contrarian investor, of course. So you may be right there. If you don't mind me sharing, how significant is your investment in LungLife in percentage terms in relation to your portfolio? Well, generally it's below 10%, but I think it's around 5% on LungLife. Yeah, and that, to me, I mean, I know that they're coming up with a pivotal trial at the moment. Results of that, or trial could be pivotal. Yeah, and of course, cancer is one of the biggest markets in the world. Of course, biggest killer in the world, and lung cancer is top of that. And they've got a test that can, be a game changer. But, I know fully well that things don't run smoothly to commercialization. Take Polarean, and that's why I've positioned myself accordingly. If that gets wiped out, nothing goes ahead, I've lost 5%. So that's one of that. Do you think I'll ever get a return on Tlou Energy? I like Tlou again. Years ago, I was into that. But we see, it's almost a less sell. In fact, I've forgotten the story on Tlou Energy, but remind me where they are, because back in the day they weren't far from commercializing that or getting something going, and I don't know where they are at the moment. But they are. What are they doing now? They changed anything? It was gas to power, wasn't it, in Africa, Botswana, whatever. But yeah, again, look at that tail of the tape. I was in around here, I think, early on, spiked up a couple of times, and it's just grinded lower. I don't know where they are, Tlou Energy, but let's have a look where they are. What are the last thing they've done? 11 million market cap, entitlement offer. If they raise money, drilling's an operation update. Leftetti vertical well, that was still going on when I was investing in them. That's it. So even then I was, I loved Tlou Energy. What's going on there? It's great. But you get carried away a bit with what's going on there. Okay. What else is on there? I was just looking at the chart there. Vox Conti, Arc Minerals, Greatland Gold. Again, that's a chart that's, the hype on that has been very big, and be careful, catching on to the hype at the top. So I know their partner Newcrest, I believe, is being overtaken by Newmont. And they do say, let's just go into that actually, Greatland Gold, the takeover is happening, and they do say that the assessment of the assets, Haverion, which is the big, has not been separately valued. The combination between that and Telfer, which is another asset, and they say the combination value therefore includes significant closure costs and other liabilities associated with Telfer, with Greatland has no exposure to. So they're saying, listen, it's not a accurate reflection of Haverion because the liabilities from the other assets in there. But anyway, that's a joint partner, isn't it? Newcrest. I think, yeah, Newmont is overtaking Newcrest. Why don't they just change their names? The two big miners in Australia with very similar names. But let's look at the chart on Greatland Gold. When you get this kind of rise, there's a lot of hype that continues for a long way, but you see that's a significant downtrend, and in my mind, that there 8 pence, if it breaks above that, which is last two previous highs just below that, and the recent one there was back in May, then maybe it's the start of an uptrend there. Like you see, you can draw lines here across previous highs. It didn't close significantly above that 9 pence level. A couple of times we're up there, and now that new resistance level seems to be 8 pence. If it gets above that, you may be talking a bit of upside. Any other comments there? Do you know what? That is refreshing, old dog. It's nice to hear you say that. I suppose I am biased, but I believe it's justified. Yeah. No, of course, listen, when we're invested, this is the thing. When we invest money in a stock, right, we are pretty biased. Full stop. It's hard to be objective, really is. So I'm very, enthusiastic about companies I invest in. That's why I invest in them. And I may be overly biased, overly enthusiastic. But that also, impairs my vision a little bit because I've got money invested. Once you've got money invested, it's hard to be unbiased. It really is. I believe the risk reward is very much worth the calculated risk I've taken. Okay. All right. I hope it works out for you, honestly, because you obviously, deeply researched into that. So I hope it does work out for you. Let's have a look at the front page there. Anything else here? Losers there. Winners. Roundhill Music's got an offer on Corsell. Why is that rising? Any news on that? No. No. Okay. Lithium, of course. News on that. Gear for Music. Any news there? Statement trading update on Gear for Music. Okay. What are they saying? In line with board's expectations. G4M trading well. To show signs of how much? What's the market cap here? 21 million. G4M. Let's look at the chart of that in a second. G4M. Wow, that's taking a bit of a hit, isn't it? But I've got an alert on that at that level. at 109, but maybe it's out of date a bit because that's, what's that, 22% up. Yeah, it hasn't quite breached that previous high. So okay. Yeah, interesting. Most followed, AMTE Power is actually most followed because of course people love, I'm not saying there's a falling knife because they've got some funding now, but people love a big drop. And I think sometimes it's hard to distinguish which will bounce and which won't, when you've got a temporary blip in a company's trading and the funding, will get them through that. That's often seen as a good sort of a bounce better happen. I'm not quite convinced on AMTE. I don't know how long that cash will last for. I haven't read into that. If you know about that, let me know. Okay, Harland Wolff, AMTE Power. Yeah, Power Metal Resources up there. Sizzle. That's it. So let's. If you've got any more comments, let me know. But I've pretty much talked to all I can. But just want to cover some. Pretty much, this is quite interesting. Well, you can be the judge of that. These are top business stories I've looked at today. Offshore wind auction fails to attract any bids. Now, the oil and gas guys were saying, yeah, see, it's all rubbish. Now, the reason, in fact, they did have this bid round government yesterday. So no new offshore wind projects have been bought by developers at a key government auction, dealing a blow to the UK's renewable power strategy. Results showed no bids for new offshore wind farms, but there were deals for solar, tidal, and onshore wind projects. Firms have argued that the price set for electricity generated was too low to make offshore wind projects viable. They're quite expensive, of course, going out there and putting those things up. Almost like offshore drilling, But look at this difference. This year, offshore wind producers were allowed a maximum bid of £44 per megawatt hour, compared to 155 per megawatt hour in 2015. So that's dropped significantly. You see there's no bids, and the government ought to rethink that. The outcome for the auction is a setback to Minister's pledge to deliver 50 gigawatts of offshore by 2030 from 14. So they're nowhere near that, are they? Literally 14 gigawatts currently. They need to get to 50 gigawatts in the next, what year are we in? 7 years, 6.5 years, less than that. 6 years, 6 and a bit years. This is good news, bad news, really, or bad news, good news. British employers are concerned about the economic outlook, reduced their number of workers they hired via recruitment agencies last month at the fastest pace in more than 3 years. An industry survey showed on Friday. The Recruitment of Employment Confederation, a trade body, said hiring of permanent staff fell by the most since June 2020, which is, of course, COVID time, while spending on temporary workers dipped for the first time since July 2020. So, a softening of the labour market, of recruitment, of employment is good in terms of inflation figures. And that's what the Bank of England will be looking at, of course, on whether to hike interest rates. So if they see a slowing economy, they're less likely to hike. They probably will hike. It's nailed on at least one more hike of, 25 basis points, a quarter of a percentage point this month. What date is it? 17th, I think. The MPC meeting, Bank of England, a run for that. But this month, so quarter of it. And one last thing, hopefully, maybe a bit of a good news, but Rishi's playing it down. He says an Indian trade deal is not a given. And in fact, he's traveled out to India in Delhi, G20, of course, the 20 biggest economies in the world. But who's not turning up? I suppose is Russia. And is China turning up? If they are, they are turning up. But in fact, while this is going on, Kim Jong-un is meeting Vladimir Putin to ask him how many weapons he wants. But anyway, he's played down this prospect of an imminent agreement, but hopes to sign it off in the not too distant future. And this is good because I think what is India now? Is India's overtaken the UK in size of economy wise, haven't they? So so hopefully that gets done, and it'll help us and all that. Anyway, we'll chat there. Interesting. That's Fredo. Thank you very much. I'm spot on time, pretty much 1:30. If you like this, John's back on Monday with me, so it's not just me rabbiting on my own. But by all means, if you like this, and you want it to continue, please like and share it with other people so they view it and see it and they can join up and subscribe, and we'll continue to do it. All right. Have a nice weekend. Whatever you're up to, if you watch the World Cup rugby, anything, have a good one, and we'll catch up on Monday. Cheers.